And what's up, everybody? We are back here with another episode of I Love This Movement, and I am here with my co-host, Nikki Bloom.
What's up?
What's up, Nikki? How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So I heard you're taking a little staycation right now.
I am. I'm with, it's kind of a family reunion in India. So, yeah, it's just a lot of fun, just having so much fun. But I am still doing my 75-day Goddess Challenge activities every day. So I'm not neglecting that, just so you all know. Yeah, so, yeah.
It's funny because like you have different names. Before it was like personal development challenge, personal this. Now like every week you have a new term to call it. Now this week is the Goddess Challenge. I like that. And
yeah.
How's the weather out there?
It is hot. It's approximately 122 degrees.
Damn, man, that's like the weather that I had when I was serving overseas in Iraq.
Oh, it's like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like that hot.
Yeah. But the difference is that you're carrying all this stuff and you're wearing fatigues, so
yeah, it's funny because like when I like we had strikers. Okay, strikers are like 8-wheeled vehicles. They kind of look like tanks, but they're fat. They move faster than tanks. And that was when I was stationed in Hawaii, we were considered a striker brigade. And like there'd be moments that the AC would go out, and then we would wear like what we call full battle rattle, meaning like the Kevlar, the vest, and then all the ammo and everything. And then we would be like, yo, it would, and then fire retardant gear and all that stuff. And it'd be so hot in there that like we're supposed to keep like our gear on the whole time, but it got to the point where we were like, fuck this, it's hot. And I would just be like, I would just take it off, and I would be inside the thing without it. And then we would take turns, kind of like, because you're supposed to man like different hatches in the vehicle. So there's like 2 in the back. There's the gunner, the one in the front, and the driver. And then there's like maybe 1 or 2 people inside, so we would take turns because it was so hot in there that we were like, hey, let me get up there because it's like I need some fresh air. And even though the air was like how it is out there right now, right? It's hot air. It's hot air, but like it was better than muggy air inside. So
right.
Me and heat do well together.
Wow. Okay, I'm not going to complain about the heat here now after you telling me that, because wow, that's crazy. That's so surreal to me. Like,
girl, complain all
out there doing.
Yeah. Complain all you want, because like even now, like I'm here in SoCal and LA, and it's like I'm closer to the beach, and it's still, when it's hot, I'm like, this sucks. So it doesn't matter. It's hot is hot. Okay.
Hot is hot. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you hit me up the other day, yesterday, and then you're like, hey, I want to talk about this topic. And what exactly was that topic? I'm gonna let you introduce that topic. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was on YouTube, scrolling through YouTube, and there's this podcast. It's a really good podcast. I think his name is Lewis Howes, and he is an ex-football player, and he's all about personal development and just like growth. Like he has that growth mindset like you do, that like we do, and that's why we're doing this challenge, and that's why we have this podcast. So yeah, he had a guest on who was talking about relationships and dating, and it was very intriguing to me because, I think as humans, it's like one of our most challenging aspects of being human is relating, and so it affects everything. So
Oh man, she got cut off right in the middle. It's all good, but yeah, definitely when things come with relationships, it makes it makes it tough, like, uh, especially when you're doing dancing. No, there she is.
gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was like, let me try to recover, but let me give let me give Dave Lily a shout out. What's up, Dave? How are you doing? And
Hey.
thank you for watching. Love your stuff. We need to do more Tai Chi. You need to
I
do his Tai Chi.
I really need to do it. I really need to. I'm excited and can't wait. Just schedule is a little off, but I can't wait to do Tai Chi with you, Dave.
Yeah, did you so one of the videos I posted up was and I submitted it to Todd's what's it called, that was like the video you submit for the week so you can get like critiqued on. And I did it. I did like what he taught me, that
Yeah.
first. And I
Oh,
used that, and that's was the beginning of it. I was just like, and I started kind of doing the tick, tick, tick up, and then the flat four, bringing it down, and it was
I
with the
saw.
music, dope. And that was Blind Man by no, I think it's No Mind. I really don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So go ahead. You were talking about
Oh,
how you're listening to this podcast, and he talks about relationships and how they how that can impact, and that's where you got cut off. So go ahead, take it
oh,
over.
yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, bro. Yeah, just being human. That's one of our, most challenging aspects of being human is relating to other humans. So, and, so sometimes we need, at least I know I need support and advice and different perspectives on relationships. So I happened upon this podcast, and it was just, yeah, amazing what they were talking about. And one of the things that really stood out was the notion of expectations and communication with your with anybody, partner, romantic partner, friendships, just any relationship that you have. And in this case, he was referring to a romantic relationship, like an intimate partner. And yeah, he was just talking about how, your expectations are, your expectations, and they're not going to be necessarily in alignment with your partner's expectations. And so there can be some discrepancies, misunderstandings, and clashes, because
Yeah, most def. Because like I know that's huge because it's like when we expect people to do things for us, like, oh well, that's just expected. It's like, well, it's
right,
expected like to you, but that's not my expectation. Like,
right,
assume you do, and then another one would be an assumption, like having an assumption that
right.
people are gonna do these things for us, and like,
If
me
they
my
love us,
yeah, if they love us, they're gonna do this
right,
stuff, and it's like for me, it's a
right.
you know, I have to love myself first, like, and that's what all this is doing is like it's learning me to love me for who I am, and you know, being that I was, and I'm like, I'm dating somebody, right? But being
Yeah,
that, now she is, in my life right now, or who knows, she might be in my life for long term, right? But
yeah,
like there is certain expectations that we put on each other without even knowing that we're putting these expectations on each other,
Right.
and that potentially it can be a problem, um, expecting like, well, I expected you to be there, or or me, like I assume we were clear, it's like, you know
Yeah.
it's hard to manage that. And if you're not like really clear on those aspects of like the relationship, man, that can like, it can be troublesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
it, it,
Totally.
it can be very troublesome. And you know um but the first things first is like, you can be there for people, but you can't be their Jesus. It's like my homegirl once told me, she was like, man, you can be there for them, but you can't be it for them. Like, happiness is something that we do on ourselves. We can only make ourselves happy. We can't,
Right.
like, somebody else can't make you happy. Like, if
No.
you give somebody else that power, then, and they're the resource of your happiness,
Mm-hmm.
then what's going to happen when they're not making you happy?
Right.
you
Yeah.
know that's just starts it's just you just start kind of like, well, you're supposed to, well, I'm not supposed to do anything. Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to share happiness. We're not supposed to like make each other happy. You like, I'm happy when I'm with you, but like, you're not my happiness. And it's
Correct.
and it's crazy because like, man, you like, sometimes you have to word things in a certain way, because if you were to say it that way, people are like, oh, what is that supposed to mean? Like, well,
Right.
it just is what it is, but like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a difficult, it's it's the truth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's honesty. And that's, for me, I'd rather be upfront about everything and be honest, when it comes down to what I want in a relationship, or my expectations of a relationship. Because putting that out there, it does, like, you know they know where they're like, what they can do. If they're over, if this is what you're telling you that you can do, and they're up here, then they're putting like even more expectations on you that you just can't meet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what does that do?
Yeah. It can cause, undue stress and harm, you know, to yourself and to your partner. And we're not trying to live like that. These are adult relationships. We need to communicate truthfully and be honest, and that's really hard to. I think it can be really hard to be really honest with what you need as a human, what you need in a relationship. Because, and see, that's a whole nother thing too, is like, how do you really know yourself, and what do you need to feel loved, because that is different for everybody. And that's what they're talking about in the podcast too. It's like, what I need to feel love might be different from like what you need, and but like what you were saying, it's like we need to love ourselves first, and that person can't be everything for us, that's impossible, and that's too much pressure for another human being to be your everything and to be your rock, and to, that's yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah. And then you think about it like, so you have that, and then on top
Yeah.
of it, you got like everything else that you're doing. You're working. You're, for us, we're doing this challenge. We're, trying to do, this podcast. And for me, it's like, I'm going to PT school here soon, and like, all of that is just kind of like, whoa, like, I can't manage all that and still try to make you happy. Like,
Right.
happiness is something that you have to do for yourself.
Hmm.
Like, I
Yep.
can add to that,
Yes.
but I can't be your happiness. Like, that's just, it's impossible. That's impossible to do.
It's impossible. No. Yeah. I mean, yeah. it's just not sustainable. Like, you know, as one person, you know, I can't do everything. So yeah, I mean, I think I think also though another interesting thing was that they were talking about was like in being honest, like you have to be true to like your own to your feelings, like, you know, because we're human. We're going to have insecurities. We're going to have, you know, we're not perfect, so it's better to just kind of, yeah, be really honest. Well, this was my expectation, and I'm just going to tell you what it is. You know, I feel I feel X, Y, and Z when you X, Y, when you do whatever you did, you know? Like, it's just learning to speak in that kind of way of like, I feel like taking ownership of your feelings. Cause like, no, like you said, no one can make you feel anything. Like that's, if you're feeling really angry about what someone said or didn't do, you know, like you had an expectation and they didn't do it and you're upset, like I think you need to, I think it needs to be said. I think you need to, first probably, you know,
Like
accept.
mention it first,
Yeah,
ask them, hey, like, can you like, these are the expectations that this is
yeah,
what I expect. And then, that person can tell you, yeah, I can meet that, or no, I can't meet that.
yeah,
And then you have to be okay with whatever answer there is. And you as a person, when you're hearing these things,
yes,
like if you are always trying to meet those expectations, then you're allowing yourself to, like, you're putting yourself in a position where that's all you're ever going to do is just trying to make this person happy, and then you're going to neglect yourself.
yep. And that causes all sorts of problems later on down the line because you can eventually, and I'm just speaking from experience as just like a pattern of mine, you know, in relationships. I think I've always done that to where, you know, you can like literally lose yourself in pleasing, you know, someone else. And again, I think we talked about this last time too. It's like the fear of oh, you know, abandonment, and like you don't want to have a performance based relationship where you're doing something in order to gain something, you know, or you know you're just doing things so that out of fear so that they don't leave you or they don't abandon you, you know. So
Yeah,
well, you need to do
you're putting so much on the person that you're willing to put up with
right.
things that you don't, like, you normally wouldn't put up with. And it's
Oh,
funny because, like,
yeah.
well, how do you check yourself on that? And it's kind of like, you
Mm,
got to see it this way. Like, this is something that I do. And it took me a long time to actually learn to do this,
mhm.
because when I was in relationships, like,
Yeah,
I wanted, like, to me, the expectation was like, I'm, especially being a minority, you know,
yes.
like, oh, I'm supposed to be married at this age. I'm supposed to be this at
Mhm.
this age, and this at this age. And so, like, sometimes our family values or familial values, and that's not to say that, like, your personal family does this, but, like, like your extended family, they come over and they're like, hey, like, well, you're married yet, or you this, or you're that. And you're just like, damn, you have all these pressures on you. So what do you do? How do you, like, manage that? And one of the things that I would do, so not to please other people, or not to, not it's not to please other people, but, like, to protect myself of over pleasing people, would be like, what I put, if this was like my, you know, like, one of my homies, like, would I put up with this? If it was like, oh,
Mhm.
if it was like my mother or my father, would I put up with this?
Right.
If it was like my siblings, like, I love all these people that I'm talking about. I love all these people, like,
Sure.
but I don't put up with their shit if I don't need to put up with their shit. So why should I put up with somebody else's shit? You know,
Mhm.
that I don't, that what's it called? That's just because, they're I'm intimate with them, and I'm, you know, that I still should hold the same values, because in the end, it's like the thing that they like about you is the thing, like, are those things, are the way that you carry yourself, and you start changing how you carry yourself, for these people, then you're like, now, not that they're gonna be like, well, you changed, like, you're not the person I thought you were. Like, well, I thought I was doing everything to make you happy.
Right.
Like, and now you're not happy, but it's because you changed so much that you changed your core values.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's like, you always got to keep your core values. You always got to keep what things that make you happy. And there has to be a clear distinction between, like, hey, like, I'm willing to make these sacrifices for you, but these, I can't do that, whether you like it or not. Like,
Right.
I can't make these, I can't do that for you. Because if I do, then I'm devaluing, then I'm like devaluating myself.
Yeah, that's facts. Yeah. And that can be like a difficult conversation, to have, right? It's like,
It's easier said than done, right?
so much easier said than done, for sure. Yeah. And I think, like, yeah, I think it's important to just, communication is like, how can you be tactful and also be empathetic to what this person is feeling, because this is not you, right? Like, this person is not you. So, in taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first, we also chose, though, to enter a relationship. So, like, you know there's certain things too, like compromise and compassion, and like, okay, yeah, sure, I know what makes me happy, and I love myself and all these things, and I put myself first, and but still, even though you do those things and you have this mindset, you still need to have, okay, I need to make some space for this person, and I have to give my energy to this person. So what does that look like? Like, how much am I willing to give, right? So in the podcast, they were talking about, like, compatibility, so it's kind of like, it's a lot of things. It's also compatible, like, are you compatible in terms of, like, what you guys put your energies into? Because if you are, like, kind of, have this kind of similar things in common, then it kind of makes it a little bit easier on that end, where you don't feel like I'm giving my time, because you're both like, okay, this is what we both want to do. So that's kind of, also a huge thing. So it could just be a compatibility thing, where you're like, hey, this is just not working out because I need to put my energies here. And it doesn't mean that, doesn't mean anything. It just means, like, just the compatibility factor is not,
It's not in alignment. Yeah,
yeah.
and all I mean, all that has to do with your values. Like, what do you value? If it's like, if you're, that they don't have to be exactly the same, right? Because you have to learn off of people, and you're gonna, learn how to be, like, together. You're learning how to be better people together, right? But your values have to be in somewhat of some sort of alignment. Like, your goals can be totally different. That's and like, I'm actually I like to believe that sometimes it's better to date outside of, like, what your interests are, so that way you have more to talk to, right? Like, whatever their thing is, and that's their thing, and then they tell you about that, and it's just like, wow, like, that's interesting, I like that, right? But then, like, there is certain, like, values and goals that have to be like, first, for me, like, they have to have goals. They have to have something that they're trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
right? That right there for me is like, I like that, because I have a lot of goals, I have a lot of dreams. That's what I want for them, for goals. It doesn't have to be in dancing, it doesn't have to be in physical therapy, it could be anything. Like, that doesn't matter. But like our values have to be in somewhat at least something matching. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you also have to be able to learn something from that person that, you know, that you can take with you, because, you know, every people that you meet, every person that you come across, like you take a little bit of piece of them with you from your life they're on. Like, for instance, I have
Sure.
there was this guy, he was one of my platoon sergeants, and his name was Sergeant Foster, right? And just kind of the things that he did was like, he would go, yeah. It was like, oh, you gonna learn today, you know, type of thing. But, you know, and like we called it Fosterisms, you know, and like to this day, I catch myself doing things like that because he had such a great impact in my life. You know what I mean? And so each person that I've like met across my life, like when I do something, I remember that person. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So it's like, well, now when you're in a relationship, dating somebody or intimate with somebody, like you're gonna take a piece of them no matter where you go. You
True.
know, so like that is so why
Mm-hmm.
not take the best piece of them in your journey instead of like having the conflict all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for me, and that's like I listened to the to that podcast that you were talking about, and you know, they talked about where even if like you don't run on the first like red flag,
Yeah.
you know,
That.
don't run, because that's like if you're
Mhm.
running from that, you're going to carry that to your next one. So like work it out and see what you can do, you know, make things work. And then if it truly doesn't work, and it's because of other factors, you know, it could be, you know, it's still tough. Those are tough conversations to have. But if you can get by that, man, that bond that you build with that person is going to be like extremely strong.
Strong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like the ultimate level of intimacy, right? When you can be so completely like vulnerable, right? And like, hey, these are my insecurities. Like, nobody's perfect, so I could be, growth mindset all day and all day long. I can, say I love myself, and it's true, and I'm working towards that. But we're working towards that every day. It's not like no one is perfect, 100% love myself all day, every time, So we're just gonna have our times, and yeah, so it is really hard to be vulnerable and just let people know. I think that's why it's what is the key? Maybe the key to relationships is being ultimate, super vulnerable with like how you really truly deep down inside feel, and like don't run away from it, and try to be as honest and truthful and vulnerable with how you feel, and you know
Yeah, because I mean, being vulnerable is or allowing yourself to be vulnerable is like you're telling the person who you really are. You
yeah,
know, and it sucks because like
yeah,
showing vulnerability is almost taboo these days. Like, I'm not supposed to show, I'm supposed to be strong all the time. And it's like,
right. I'm supposed to growth mindset, like I'm a guru of 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 growth, and
for
all,
sure.
personal development, and don't think negatively, and all these things, like
And that's when you do that, and all you're doing is just, oh, I'm just gonna think like positive, positive, positive. That's like you're overcompensating. Okay.
right.
You overcome because you neglect the you can neglect a big portion of what makes you you, and that's your ability to make yourself vulnerable. That's why people are like, oh, that's a sign of weakness. No, it's not. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable is a sign of strength, and that you're comfortable with yourself to share that piece of yourself with people. You know,
Yeah.
like this right here, what we're doing, this is like we're telling people the way we think, the way we feel, the way we, you know, our ideas. This is a straight vulnerable act that we're doing. But
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah,
but
totally.
it's strength, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, yo, man, these guys are speaking like the real, like they're being honest, you know?
Yeah.
They're speaking from the heart. And we are speaking. There's no script. Where's your script? I don't have a script, you know? Like, that's what I love about doing this. Is just it's 100% raw.
Hmm.
You know, you get what you get. And
And you don't get upset. Just kidding.
yeah, yeah. But in the end, it's you know, yeah, being vulnerable is a sign of strength. It's a 100% a sign of strength. And you
Yeah.
know, once
And that,
people learn how to do that, man, there's so much growth to come from this, being able to do that.
yeah, especially in a relationship, I think it's, because I think it's hard because maybe in the beginning you kind of want to impress the person and you want them to like you. And so, at least like from my experience, I noticed my kind of like just my patterns, and I'm working on that now. Like I'm dating somebody right now, and been dating after being in like perpetual like long-term relationships. I'm always like, I never dated before, so now here's me being super vulnerable. But like, I've just always had, like, I'm a serial relationship, person. So it's like one person I'll be, so many years with, and like give so much of myself. And I've in the past I've always just kind of like neglected. So yeah, all of this is so neglected myself because I was, wanting them to stay or love me more, whatever, So, yeah, I think now, being older, I just like, okay, like you said, every person that you're with you is like a learning growth period for you. All of those people I take with me, and I've learned so much. And if it wasn't for all of these people that were in my life, at the time, I don't think I'd have this, understanding now. So yeah, I'm definitely grateful for everyone, even the really tough, you know, crazy relationships, even the toxic ones, like straight up, like, of course, during, and I'm not saying like, go into a toxic relationship. I'm just saying like, hey, life happens and you're going to go through struggles in relationships. It's just kind of part of our, human evolution, and growth of our consciousness, as like a human race. I think like we have to, learn from others, like you were saying. So yeah, like, I'm not saying that, but like in the podcast, like you were mentioning, like they say, don't run, try to, of course, if it's abusive, then yes, run. I'm not saying, but at least, if it's something that you think you can kind of work through, and try, at least try, because you could learn something from this person, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's kind of like a, you know, you don't want to end something prematurely because, like I said, it's
Right.
the first red flag. But at the same time, you don't want to stay in something too long if, you know, if you knew that it was just like, nah, this is not gonna be it. And so like, I just want to ask you, like, for one of those relationships, like,
Mhm.
when did you know that you were like, man, I should have like ran a long time ago? Like one of them that you were maybe a few years into it, like, were
Yeah.
you, did you know you're like, man, I need to like end this like years before you did? Or
Yeah.
was it like what, like, so how long was it before you realized that it was just like, yeah, it's time for me to go?
So, oh, this is a super amazing question, actually, because because I did not have a strong sense of self and self love and prioritizing myself. I kind of, knew there were things, all the red flags. There were so many, and I just was like, it's a different thing because I didn't have this, the mindset that we have now, about like assessing things and waiting to see. I just knew at like a gut level I was hurting, and it didn't feel good. I was feeling sad, so, but I wanted it to work. I wanted this relationship to work, and I feared that I feared losing this person like early on, you know, and yeah, it's because I didn't have that strong sense of self. So I allowed I allowed these things to occur. So I was basically like giving my power to someone else, you know, and it was that whole thing that you were saying of, you know, so I knew early. I knew in the beginning these are things that I shouldn't be tolerating, you know, I shouldn't be. But, you know, it was the fear kind of overtook me, you know, the fear of losing them kind of was like, you know, the main thing versus like caring for myself, you know, versus like I'm hurt. I should like this is not healthy, you know, like this is not healthy, so therefore I should not continue with this and I would have been done with it. But no, because of my, you know, feelings of myself, you know, how I felt about myself and I wasn't worthy and all these kinds of things. I didn't have that concept of self-love. I stayed I stayed in many relationships for too long, even though I was hurting a lot. So yeah, definitely.
So your self-worth was not in alignment with your values.
No, my self-worth was not in my values system, like probably just non-existent, you know? So yeah, concept of that, like it's crazy, you know, so basic 101 life stuff. I didn't, you know, and I think like we always talk about this, and it's like family. It's just like how you're raised, you know, it kind of all goes back to that.
That's, I mean, I think that's part of it. Like you know,
Pardon?
our families give us like those long-term kind of
It's like a blueprint, you know?
yeah, they start that off, you know,
Yeah.
and then eventually you have to like learn on you, like you got to learn on your own, you know,
Yeah. Eventually
and
you,
whenever that takes, like, you know, for me, I started learning or started kind of figuring things out when I got back from the military. I just knew, like, when I finished my term of service and started going to school, like I knew there was some things that I had to work with myself, right? Like I had some of my own like personal issues from deployment, but at the same time, like there was some personal and issues that I realized that were in there even before I was in the military, you
mm,
know? So, you know, that sometimes has to do with like, oh, where you grew up or who you were around or, you know, your family, you know, and sometimes it's not even, you know, anything that your personal family does. Like I said, it could be your extended family, those people who you're most closest with. They do something, or you have something that happened to you that impacted your life, and now that's kind of like that's it's hard to recover from that, you
yeah.
know. And that, like, so for me, like I always felt, and I'm gonna go pretty personal here, like I always felt when I was like I felt like I was ugly, you know, like a unattractive and
Yeah.
all that. Like I always felt that. And you know, it was tough. Like even when I got into relationships, like I was so giving because like
Oh,
I felt like I'm not attractive enough for this woman, you know, for this girl. And like I would do whatever I can to kind of like, to the point that like I pretty much like, damn, this is kind of tough. So I pretty much gave like her all the power in the relationship. I've demasculated myself because I was like Kevin Hart goes, like, don't be a fucking yes man. He's like, all right, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. You want me to get that thing? Yeah. Want me to go now? Yeah. Well, so you want me to get, no, later? Yeah, now? I can go right now. You know, I just can swing by. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'll do it. Sure, sure, no problem. You know? And he goes, be a fucking man, dude. Like, come on, stand up for yourself. Like, don't be a yes man, you know, like the whole time. And it's like, but that's, you know, but for some of us, that's how it is. Like, you know, you get that one, or you start at, and you act and you do everything you can because you felt like this is the best that I can do.
yeah.
And it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, it's not true. Like, you shouldn't do that, because all you're doing is you're just giving them the power to dictate how you're going to feel for the rest of that relationship, or until you know, grab your cojones and say, like, you know what? No. But by that point, it's already too late. You know, it's like
Mm,
the damage is done. You know,
yeah.
so that's why, like, now it's like, all right, be clear with your intentions. Like, let them know early. Like, talk about this stuff. It's better to communicate these things early, you know, and then instead of it just being love. Because honestly, like, I think love is the most it is very, like, I believe in love, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe that everything that you get into is a partnership, and then we should take it as a partnership, you know,
Yeah.
and then let the love build on that. Not
Yeah.
like, oh man, they're so great, like I love them, like, yo, that's, you know, and it just, once that honeymoon phase is over, forget about it. It's like, well, you change. Well, no, you just see me for who I am for real now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not about like butterflies, cupcakes, dandelions, you know, long walks on the beach, you know, whispering forgetful nothings inside each ear. It's like, now I know who you are, fool. Like, so what we gonna do? Like, you know, so it's just, you know, it's just easier to, like, set the ground rules. Like, hey, you know, just like in any sport, okay, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, you're not supposed to do this. You know, you set them down so that way you know what, like, your expectations can be, and what, and don't assume things. You know, like,
Yeah.
like I keep saying, I can't make anybody happy.
Yeah.
You know, but I can add to that. You know, I can do the things that I'm capable of doing, you know, to add to your happiness, to, so we can build this relationship. But at the same time, like, I just can't be everything, because I have my own goals and dreams. And now if I'm everything for you, then I'm gonna have to neglect something that is gonna carry me to the next level that I want to be.
Right.
You know, and if that's the case, then if I start neglecting that, then I'm allowing you to dictate and put myself in a position where I start neglecting other things in my life that what you liked about to start with,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
you know? And so
Like,
that's it's you know, most people that believe, like, oh, it's all love, like, they're not gonna like that. They're not gonna like that. But it's, in the end, it's like, when you see like these shows, like, where they have like a matchmaker and they match up, and then, you know, they're like, well, they're not, it's not really a person I would date. And then they're like, man, but like, I love this person. Like, they're just the way they are. Did you ever kind of realize sometimes that, like, when people are like, no, this person was not my ideal person, but like, wow, like, they make me happy. Well, they don't make you happy, but like, our happiness is like grows together. That's another thing they said, like, you got to take that, oh, they make me happy, out of it. And movies always
yeah.
have like, oh, they make me happy. Like,
No. Yeah.
no,
Take that.
I'm not trying to make you happy. I want to add to your happiness. You make yourself happy, but we gotta, you know, then we gotta make ourselves happy. So you opened up a can of worms here.
That's what we gotta do. I mean, I
Yeah.
needed to open that can of worms, so that's probably why, you know.
Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes it takes talking about these things to,
I mean, we
um,
do another. This could be like a part two.
part three, part four, part five, because
Mhm.
it's there's so many layers to this, and we're just touching on certain parts, like, you know, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is the same thing. Like, how does this translate into dancing?
Mm, mm.
You know,
Oh,
and
it's everything. It's
yeah, for instance, it can make you, like, you know, these types of things can have you neglect what you love doing. Like, most of us that are we love to dance. That's what we love to do. It gives us a sense of like, accomplishment. It's our art form that we express ourselves through. We cry, we love, we do everything in this art form. And like, if you're not able to express that, like how, that's something that I love to do. And I know, and this is here's one thing like about me, like if I'm not dancing, there's something wrong with me. I don't know if that's how you are, but if I'm not dancing, there's something wrong with you. And I know, and I believe it is, because I know you spent a lot of time where you were just like, you weren't doing it. And how were you feeling during that time?
God, it's such a huge, I'm just a different person. That's not even me, like I can just say that straight out. Like, who was that person? Not me, not the real me anyway, so definitely it's something that is just my soul, so it's a part of me that needs to be expressed all the time, daily. Like, otherwise I'm not really being true to myself or nourishing myself, healing myself. It's like soul food. I need it. I need to do it every day. Like, so, and if I wasn't able to for a while because I was ill, so I could not, and that was something I was like grappling with too. Like, if I can't dance, what am I gonna do? And I started to mentally prepare myself, like if I couldn't, and so that was a hard time for me too. But I think, how do I say this? I think like there's other things too, so it's not just dance. I realized that after going through that, I realized, I'm a multifaceted human being, I'm an artist, and there's other things that can fulfill me also, not that. So there's that too.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, being in like say a toxic relationship, like it affects everything. Like,
oh my gosh, forget about it.
Yeah, and it shows everything. Like, I've always talked about, like, if you have an issue that's on this side over here, and it's that, it could be confidence. Okay, maybe because you don't have confidence in the relationship, maybe you don't have, whatever it might be, right? That's going to affect you linearly in everything that you do. That confidence that you have from here is going to affect you in dancing. It's going to affect you in, teaching. It's going to affect you in, the way you look. It's just, it's one thing that's going to be, everything's linear, know? So sometimes where you're like, oh, I have issues with this thing. Well, no, you might have an issue that's over here. And that's the core of it, but it just affects everything on this path right there.
Oh, for sure.
And that was something I figured out, like and it took a relationship, and not like a couple, like boyfriend girlfriend relationship, but even like a student relationship, like for me to figure that out, where somebody told me like, hey, like you need to stop talking to me like I'm one of your soldiers. Like you're you're aggressive, you're verbally aggressive, you're verbally this. And I had no idea that I was doing that type of stuff. But that, when people pointed that out, I was just like, no wonder. See, I have these issues here, and then, but that carries over here, and that carries over here, and that carries, and it's all the same thing, And if it wasn't for that person that told me that, it would have never clicked. Maybe it would. Maybe somebody else would have told me, or right. I would have figured it out. But it takes that, and it takes like, that's the same. Those are like what we're talking about. It just doesn't have to do with like a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. It has to do with just personal relationships in particular.
Yeah.
Like they affect you. It affects you all the same way, because the way you act with like your significant other, you could possibly act that same way with somebody else. So if you're aggressive with like, Like, for instance, somebody was if they're aggressive with you in one of your relationships, like they act that way towards other people in their crew, in their, you know, in their job, in their this and that. And, you know, some of us never realized that. And some of us realized that we're like, hey, we were being dickheads.
Yeah.
And we need to check that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Right. So you have any last words for today, Nikki?
Gosh. Well, I think just try your best to love yourself. And what does that really mean? Try to, you know, knowledge of self, I think is huge, you know. So really get to know yourself so that you're, you know, you are your own best friend and you can enter relationships, you know, in a more healthier way, you know, just kind of knowing yourself really, really well, what you like, what you don't like, you know, what, you know, just kind of stuff like that. Yeah, that's all I would say.
No, for sure. That's actually really good. I'm gonna read some of these comments. It was David Lee.
Yeah.
Hot is hot. He put that he's back. That tonight at 6 Eastern every Monday. Laugh aloud. Nice grasshopper. And then someone put I'm late, but I'm late, but I'm here. And then hi Nikki, hi honey. And then alpha male syndrome. But my last words in this situation would be like, realistically, this all takes communication. You know, you have to communicate with that person. You have to be able to let them know what you value and, you know, what you expect of them and what they expect of you. So that way, when they are over expecting something, like they don't, they know, like, and they're getting upset about that, and be like, well, you got to remember, this is what I told you. If you're up here, then that's something that's like out of my control because I can't do anything about that. And so you have to kind of really realize that hey, maybe you're putting more emphasis or more expectations than I can give you. And so, you know, checking all that stuff and just communicating with the person and, you know, really, really doing it in a way where it's not a fight, you know, and that'll help extremely, like every single relationship you get into, you know. Don't try to like, oh, we need to figure this out right now. And I'm like, I'm pissed off. I can't do that. Give me my space. Let me meditate. Let me do my thing. And then afterwards, I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to talk. You know,
right.
Not communicating is the worst thing, but not just communicating, but communicating your feelings and communicating your just everything, you know, and especially it's the feelings that you want to communicate. That's the best advice I can give anybody. And you want to add a little? I see the wheels turning. You want to add something to that, or you want to
another
time?
Maybe the next one will be like a, you know, tips on how to communicate or something. I don't know. You know,
that'll be good. That'll be good. We gotta write that down.
You know, like dialogue. You know, how to speak tactfully with your partner, and so that you're not, you know, hurting each other, and, you know, just, and I think it's like I think that's why the book, The Four Agreements, is really good, because it talks about that, how, you know, you can't take anything personally because that person is another person. Like, it's not you. So if that person needs what they need to go and meditate, and they need to go, and before they talk to you, that's them. That's how, you know, so you got to respect whatever they bring to the table. Because
yeah, no, for sure. You know what, that also reminds me of, like, damn, okay, we were supposed to stop, but like, let's keep going until we got to say what we got to say. Like, it reminds me of the 7 languages of love, the 7 love languages, you know, and that's like where they talk about how people love differently and there's like the giver, there's this person, I forgot, I've read it a while ago, but there's these different languages that each person has. And if you understand the love language that these people have, then you can better understand and like what they want in a relationship or what makes them happy. And it just doesn't have to be, in relationships. It could be like with your kids. It could be with, bosses. It could be everybody, but everybody has these love languages that they have, and knowing that will help you understand them better, and that's a good book. The 7 Love Languages. I recommend that one. So
that's a good one.
But all right, we're gonna let it go right here. We're gonna make sure the topic, this one, it's a hot topic. We're gonna do it next time again. Don't let anybody stop you from doing what you love doing. And for our cases, that's dancing. All right, and we love to dance, and then we show a lot of emotions and anger and all that stuff. So if you make me mad, you're gonna see it in my dance. I'm freaking crumping and something like that, put face paint on my face and just like Tommy the Clown, Shout out to Tommy the Clown. But yeah, love you guys.
Love you guys.
Peace out. Catch us on Thursday. We're gonna be back with another one. All right. Peace out. Hold the pose because I got hit. Hold it.